Everyone knows that when it comes to changing the landscape of innovative tech and gadgetry, there's nothing and no one more synonymous to that than tech giant Apple and its original CEO and co-founder, Steve Jobs. Before dictating the evolution of modern technology, Jobs encountered many challenges along the way. While Jobs is widely recognized as a pioneer of the personal computer revolution, not many know that he was forced out of his own company before eventually taking it back and leading Apple into the 21st century. In this video, we're taking a look at why Steve Jobs was fired from Apple. Before we jump into it, hit that like button, subscribe, and show your support by ringing that notification bell for future updates.
This is Tech Binge.
September 16th is an important day in Steve Jobs' life. On September 16th, 1985, Steve Jobs formally quit Apple, tendering his resignation after a power struggle with the company's board. On the same day, in 1997, more than a decade later, he would officially rejoin the company he began and lead Apple to a new age of dominance in the tech industry, a dominance that still exists today, thanks to the ingenious perspective of a man with nothing but great dreams. The name Steve Jobs, after all, is a household name, and you've probably seen a couple of his biopics, and know plenty much about his story. Known to everyone as the co-founder and CEO of Apple Incorporated, who along with his buddy Steve Wozniak started the company in 1976 to sell Wozniak's Apple I personal computer. The two would find fame and wealth a year later with the triumph of the Apple II, an 8-bit home computer that was one of the world's first highly successful mass-produced microcomputer products, and was Apple's first launch of a personal computer product aimed at a consumer market, providing access to the technology to America's households rather than the usual office space or for computer hobbyists. Jobs was known for being an entrepreneur through and through, and held minimal participation in the design of its earlier products. The Apple I and the more successful Apple II were designed primarily by Steve Wozniak, while Steve Jobs participated by overseeing development of its foam-molded plastic case. Jobs, however, had a vision, and as a great salesman himself, devised the means to market their products. Jobs was only 21 when he co-founded Apple, and by the time he was 23, he had already become a millionaire. But as the years went on, the new products were put forth. The company would experience some frustrations, who were there from the start of the company to leave it all behind. In 1983, 2 years after Apple Computer went public, the computer had already cracked the Fortune 500. At this point, Jobs decided to recruit John Sculley, the head of Pepsi-Cola, to be Apple's new chief executive. While Jobs remained to be chairman of the board, this would eventually prove to be Jobs' initial downfall, as Scully would take a major role in the attempt to reorganize Apple and remove plenty of Jobs' proprietary power. Jobs was undeniably Apple's chief visionary and had quite a different perspective from the CEO he himself had hired. John Sculley wanted to focus on sales and profits and preferred the company to develop more open architecture computers like the Apple II, which could be sold to sectors of education, small business, and home markets away from the main competition, IBM's dominant market of large business structures at the time. Jobs wanted Apple to focus on closed architecture, instilling plenty of his effort towards the development of his own Macintosh division, a business alternative that would directly compete against the IBM PC. The Macintosh was set to be Apple's next revolutionary product, with Jobs taking point over the project. The Mac debuted in 1984 to rave reviews but disappointing sales, which placed a financial strain on the company and started the fraying relationship between Jobs and Scully. The Jobs and Scully relationship was strained even further due to complaints from workers on the Mac team about their demanding boss, with Jobs endlessly pushing the boundaries as much as he could. After all, that was part of Jobs to demand so much from the people who worked for him, but oftentimes he drove people too hard, and being gentle and polite was definitely not part of his demeanor. By early 1985, the Macintosh's failure to gain more ground from the IBM PC became evident, which strengthened Scully's position in the company even further. Scully would even make a move to reorganize the company and proposed a plan to the board that would remove Jobs from his Macintosh division and place him under new product development. This move would have effectively rendered Jobs powerless within Apple. A power struggle erupted between the two, with Jobs conspiring his own means to get rid of the CEO he chose, but was confronted after the plan was leaked. In the spring of 1985, Apple's board sided with John Sculley, removing Jobs from his command of the Macintosh group. A few months later, Jobs tendered his letter of resignation to the Apple board, and along with 5 additional senior Apple employees who also resigned to join Jobs in his new venture, the computer and software company Next. During Jobs' time with Next Incorporated, he would continue to put out products that were known for its technical strength through effective object-oriented software development systems. Jobs ran next with his famous obsession for aesthetic perfection, a key trait that would serve him much later on. Many actually argue that the power play that led to Steve's departure from Apple provided more general benefits due to the output Jobs would lead into those years. Had Steve not been pushed away, he wouldn't have developed Next, which served as a key component to the development of the World Wide Web, since the Internet's first prototype was built on a Next machine. Much of Next's technology would also find a way into Apple's future products, such as its multitasking operation, NextStep, which evolved into the Mac OS X. Jobs also used this time to fund a spin-off group from Lucasfilm's computer graphic division, which would later be Pixar, the company that has provided us beautiful animated films, such as Toy Stories, Finding Nemo, and so much more. Jobs himself has said in numerous speeches, saying, quote, "I didn't see it then, but it turned out that getting fired from Apple was the best thing that could have ever happened to me. It freed me to enter into one of the most creative periods of my life." End quote. In 1996, Apple announced that it would buy Next for $427 million, which brought Jobs back to the company he had co-founded. In 1997, a party of shareholders sold 1.5 million Apple shares, which caused Apple to lose quite a lot. At the time, Apple saw its worst ever financial quarter, which led Jobs to serving as the company's de facto CEO, until its then CEO, Gil Amelio, left. When Amelio departed, Jobs stepped into the official role of CEO and would serve the company until his death in 2011. Under Jobs' invigorated guidance, the company increased sales and would introduce a new wave of products and approaches to marketing that saw the company begin its rise into the dominant company we see today. From the iMac to the introduction of the iPod and eventually the iPhones that captivated the world market, Steve Jobs would eventually bring back Apple's efficient productivity and save the company from the depths of bankruptcy. Through Jobs' legacy and impact as Apple's CEO, the company would eventually make history, becoming the first publicly traded company to achieve a market capitalization of $1 trillion, proving that through his visionary leadership, a college dropout can create one of the most powerful and profitable companies in human history. So what do you think about why Steve Jobs was fired from Apple? Sound off in the comment section below. And as always, thumbs up to show your support, subscribe, and ring that notification bell so you never miss out on future updates. Until next time.